The letter arrived on a Tuesday, its expensive cream envelope standing out among my stack of student papers. My father's law firm's logo gleamed in the corner, bringing back memories I'd spent 20 years trying to forget. Ms. Alexandra Mitchell, we are writing to inform you of changes to your parents' estate planning. I set the letter down, my hands trembling slightly. After 2 decades of silence, this was how they chose to communicate. Through their lawyers. My name is Alexandra Mitchell, though these days most people know me as Ms. Mitchell, founder of Bright Horizons Academy. At 42, I've built something I'm proud of, something that matters. But 20 years ago, I was just a disappointed daughter being cast out of my family for choosing the wrong career path. The memory of that night still burns clear in my mind. My father, Richard Mitchell, standing in his mahogany-paneled study, my teaching program acceptance letter crumpled in his fist. Teaching. He'd spat the word like it tasted bitter. We didn't pay for 4 years at Princeton so you could waste your life babysitting other people's children. My mother had stood silently by the window, her perfect posture and pressed silk blouse a testament to the privilege she'd married into. Think about what you're throwing away, Alexandra, she'd said softly. The connections, the opportunities. I am thinking. I'd replied, my voice steadier than I felt. I'm thinking about making a difference, about helping children learn and grow. Spare me the idealistic nonsense, my father had cut in. If you want to throw away your potential, fine, but don't expect us to support this phase. He torn the acceptance letter in half, letting the pieces flutter to his imported Persian rug. Choose now. Either join the firm as planned or leave with nothing. I'd chosen nothing. Now, 20 years later, I stared at the law firm's letter, wondering what could have prompted this sudden contact. I'd heard bits and pieces about my family over the years, mostly through old school friends. My father had expanded his firm, opened offices in 3 more cities. My mother still chaired the hospital board's charity committee. They'd written me out of their will years ago, a fact they'd made sure reached me through mutual acquaintances. Ms. Mitchell, my assistant Jenny, poked her head into my office. The parent council meeting starts in 5 minutes. I tucked the letter into my desk drawer. Whatever my parents wanted could wait. I had a school to run. Bright Horizons Academy hadn't started as a grand vision. After leaving home that night with nothing but a backpack and my savings, I completed my teaching certification and taken a job at an inner-city public school. The challenges there, underfunding, overcrowding, students falling through the cracks, had sparked an idea. What if education could be different? What if we could create a school that combined academic excellence with emotional intelligence, that taught not just subjects but life skills? It had started small tutoring sessions in my tiny apartment, then after-school programs in a rented church basement. I'd worked 3 jobs to save money, lived on ramen noodles and determination. My first proper classroom was a converted warehouse space with second-hand furniture and donated books. Now, 15 years later, Bright Horizons occupied a sprawling campus on the outskirts of the city. We had waiting lists 3 years long, revolutionary teaching methods being studied by universities, and most importantly, students who were thriving. The parent council meeting that morning was about our latest expansion plans. We needed more space, more resources to accommodate the growing demand. Parents sat around the conference table, doctors, business owners, community leaders, all united in their commitment to educational innovation. The new STEM wing will cost approximately $12 million, I explained, pulling up the architectural renderings. But it will allow us to double our science and technology programs. And the funding, Dr. Carter, one of our longtime board members, asked. I smiled. Already secured. The Mitchell Education Foundation has been busy. That was the irony my parents had never bothered to discover. While they'd been mourning their daughter's wasted potential in teaching, I built something bigger than they could have imagined. The Mitchell Education Foundation, funded initially through my tutoring income and eventually through grants and donations, had grown into a powerful force for educational change. After the meeting, I finally opened my father's law firm's letter completely. The language was formal, detached. Recent changes in your parents' estate planning necessitate a review of certain arrangements. Your presence is requested at a family meeting. Everything okay? Jenny asked, noticing my expression. I folded the letter carefully. My parents want to meet. After 20 years, she knew my story. Most of my staff did. It was part of Bright Horizons' origin story that I rarely shared the full details. Are you going to go? I glanced out my office window at the bustling campus below. Students hurried between classes, teachers led outdoor discussions under shade trees. Life hummed with purpose and possibility. Everything I'd built without their help or approval. I think I have to, I said finally, if only to show them exactly what their wayward daughter has accomplished. That evening, I sat in my home office, surrounded by the evidence of my journey, awards from educational organizations, news articles about Bright Horizons' innovative programs, photos of graduating classes, hundreds of students who'd gone on to great things. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend Maria. Heard about the meeting. Want backup? Maria had been there that night 20 years ago, had let me crash on her couch while I figured out my next steps. She'd watched me build Bright Horizons from nothing, had celebrated every milestone and setback along the way. I got this, I texted back. Time to show them what teaching can really achieve. I pulled out an old photo album, one of the few things I grabbed that night. In it was a picture of my 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, the woman who'd first shown me the power of education to change lives. She believed in me when my own parents couldn't see past their expectations. My phone rang, the law firm's number. Ms. Mitchell, just confirming your attendance at Thursday's meeting. I'll be there, I said firmly, and please tell my parents to bring their estate documents. They might find them educational. As I hung up, I caught my reflection in the window. I wasn't that scared 22-year-old anymore, leaving home with nothing but dreams and determination. I was Alexandra Mitchell, educator, innovator, builder of futures. Thursday's meeting would be interesting indeed. The law firm of Mitchell and Associates hadn't changed much in 20 years. The same mahogany paneling, the same oil paintings of stern-faced partners' pasts, the same air of old money and power. I stepped off the elevator in a tailored navy suit, my heels clicking against the marble floor with purpose. Ms. Mitchell, the receptionist greeted me, her eyes widening slightly with recognition. They're waiting in the main conference room. Of course they were. The main conference room, where my father always held his most important meetings. I played there as a child, drawing quietly in the corner while he negotiated million-dollar deals. I paused outside the heavy double doors, taking a deep breath. Through the frosted glass, I could see 3 silhouettes, my father, my mother, and someone I assumed was their lawyer. Alexandra, my mother spoke first as I entered, her voice carrying that familiar note of careful control. She aged well, her silver hair elegantly styled, her posture still perfect. You look successful. Hello, Mother. Father. I took a seat across from them, setting my briefcase on the polished table. Shall we discuss why I'm here after 20 years of silence? My father cleared his throat, looking uncomfortable for the first time I could remember. We've been reevaluating certain decisions. Indeed. I raised an eyebrow. And what prompted this reevaluation? Their lawyer, a thin man with wire-rimmed glasses, shuffled some papers. Perhaps we should begin with the formal aspects. Actually, I interrupted. I'd like to hear it from them. I looked directly at my father. Why now? He shifted in his chair, his legendary courtroom confidence nowhere to be seen. We saw the article in Forbes about Bright Horizons Academy. Ah, the article. America's most innovative educator. How Alexandra Mitchell is revolutionizing private education. It had come out last month, complete with a detailed analysis of our $100 million endowment and growing national influence. Fascinating reading, my mother added quickly. We had no idea. No, you didn't, I agreed calmly. You were too busy being ashamed of my career choice to notice what I was building. Alexandra, my father started, but I held up a hand. Let me finish. For 20 years, you've had nothing to say to me. No calls, no cards, not even when Bright Horizons won the National Excellence in Education Award. Not when we opened our second campus, not when the governor appointed me to the State Education Board. I pulled out my tablet, bringing up our latest financial reports. Would you like to know what your wastrel daughter has been doing while you were pretending she didn't exist? Without waiting for an answer, I began presenting the numbers. Our annual budget, our expansion plans, our scholarship programs. The foundations we'd established, the lives we changed, the future we were building. The Mitchell Education Foundation currently manages assets of over $150 million, I concluded. We've sent over 3,000 students to college who might never have had the chance otherwise. And yes, Father, some of them even became lawyers. The silence that followed was deafening. My mother dabbed at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. My father stared at the financial reports, his expression unreadable. "Why didn't you tell us?" he finally asked. I laughed, though there was no humor in it. "Tell you? You made it very clear that teaching was beneath the Mitchell family dignity, that I was throwing my life away. Why would I come back to report my success to people who couldn't see the value in education?" "We were wrong," my mother said softly. It was the first time I ever heard her admit to a mistake. "We were so focused on the path we'd chosen for you, that you missed the path I chose for myself," I finished. "The path that's helped thousands of students find their own way." The lawyer cleared his throat again. "Perhaps now we should discuss the estate changes." I turned to him, my voice steady. "No need. I've seen the documents you sent. You want to add me back into the will, make me a heir again now that I've proven myself worthy of the Mitchell name." My father leaned forward. "Alexandra, please, we're trying to make things right." "Make things right?" I opened my briefcase and pulled out a folder. "These are the names of every student who's graduated from Bright Horizons in the past 15 years. Their stories, their achievements, their dreams. This is what making things right looks like." I stood up, smoothing my skirt. "Keep your money. I've built something far more valuable than your estate could ever be." "Wait," my mother called as I reached the door. "The gala next month, the hospital's annual fundraiser. Would you consider attending? As my guest?" I paused, hand on the doorknob. "Actually, I'm the keynote speaker. The hospital is partnering with Bright Horizons on a new medical education initiative. But you'd know that if you read past the first page of the Forbes article." Walking out of Mitchell and Associates felt different this time. 20 years ago, I left in tears, my dreams seemingly shattered. Now I left with my head high, knowing exactly who I was and what I'd achieved. My phone buzzed as I reached my car. A text from Jenny. "Emergency at school. Mrs. Thompson's advanced chemistry class accidentally created foam that's taking over the science lab." I smiled, already turning toward Bright Horizons. This was where I belonged, dealing with exploding experiments, inspiring young minds, building future leaders. But life has a way of surprising you. 2 days later, a package arrived at my office. Inside was my original acceptance letter to the teaching program, the one my father had torn in half. The pieces had been carefully taped together and framed along with a note. "We saved it. Even when we couldn't understand your choice, some part of us must have known you would prove us wrong. We are sorry. And we are proud." It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. That would take time, trust, and probably more than a few uncomfortable family dinners. It was acknowledgement of my choices, my success, my vision. I hung the framed letter in my office, next to our first student's college acceptance letter. Both represented the same thing: the power of believing in yourself when no one else does. The following week, I received another surprise. My father had nominated Bright Horizons for the city's Business Excellence Award. My mother had joined our parent advisory board. Small steps, but steps nonetheless. During our next board meeting discussing the new STEM wing, Dr. Carter mentioned seeing my parents at a recent education fundraiser. They couldn't stop talking about their daughter, the educational innovator, he said with a smile. "Funny how things change," I replied, but I was smiling too. That evening, standing in front of my office window watching students leave for the day, I thought about legacy. My parents had wanted me to continue their law firm legacy. Instead, I built my own, one that would impact generations to come. A knock at my door interrupted my thoughts. A student, Emma, one of our scholarship recipients, stood there clutching a college acceptance letter. "Ms. Mitchell." "I got in, just like you said I would." I hugged her, remembering my own dreams at her age. "I never doubted you for a second." After she left, I sent a text to my parents. "Student just got into Princeton. Guest teaching has its moments." Their reply came quickly. "Dinner this weekend? We'd love to hear all about it." Sometimes the greatest victory isn't proving others wrong. It's proving yourself right. And sometimes the hardest people to teach are the ones who think they already know everything. I picked up my bag, ready to head home. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new chances to make a difference. That's what education is all about, not just learning from the past, but building toward the future. And my future? It was exactly where I'd always wanted it to be, in a classroom, changing lives one student at a time.